What does having a private jet actually cost? Have you ever wished you could fly in your own private jet? To be able to call your pilot and tell them where you want to land and then be able to fly any place you wanted at any time. Indeed, a lot of us do sincerely desire the ability to possess a private plane. The sad reality is that simply purchasing a jet would likely cost an arm and a leg, if not even more. And maintaining them is another ongoing expense that few people are prepared to pay for. So what does owning a jet actually cost? Today, we'll give you a thorough breakdown of what it means to be a jet owner and how much it truly costs. Let's start out by discussing the initial cost of planes. Even the most affordable private jet will cost you several $1,000,000. Similar to luxury autos, private jets of any kind can range in price from $3 million to $90 million. A used private jet will be preferable if you were considering purchasing one because they are vulnerable to depreciation. Now, let's be honest for a second and say that practically anyone affluent enough to consider purchasing a private jet for real will likely do so anyhow. Do you know any wealthy individuals who have purchased a used private jet? As Steve Arzano, founder of the luxury private aircraft company of the jet business, says, if you're not flying your airplane 150 to 200 hours a year, you really shouldn't own one. You should just rent one. A private jet is a good investment if you fly at least 350 to 400 hours annually. If your flying habits are below these rates, the cost of owning a private jet outweighs the advantages. However, some disagree, claiming that these statistics are intended to mislead unsuspecting buyers into purchasing private jets. In this situation, it is sage to choose another type of flight. While planning a budget for your private jet, don't forget to account for all the unforeseen expenses. Well, so you invest a few million in a brand new or used private plane. Then what? You must be able to pay for supplemental fees, including insurance, fuel, pilots, and catering services. Of course, your private plane won't likely take off on its own, and you would likely require fuel, just like a car. Either you or a third party should pilot your private aircraft. But you might discover that even while you don't log those hours each year, you'll frequently find yourself traveling with friends. You might discover that paying for those trips costs you more than owning a jet because commercial aircraft can charge by seat. The initial purchase cost can vary greatly based on your budget, the age or size of the aircraft you need, and other factors. It's also crucial to remember that, like vehicle owners, most jet owners change their aircraft every 4 to 5 years. In any case, private aircraft owners are few, and the majority lean more towards the elderly than the young. In the US, there are just about 11,000 private jet owners. The colossal expense of a private jet is even more astonishing than the average age of a jet owner, who is 63.6 years old and has a net worth of over $1.5 billion. Most jet owners only invest 1% of their total wealth in their aircraft. So a private jet is just a product that you can buy with their spare cash for the majority of them. The cost of a private jet is actually far lower than you may think. Like with cars, the price of a jet greatly relies on the size of the aircraft, the number of passengers it can carry, and the distance it can go. Also, fueling a private jet is unquestionably not the same as fueling a standard car, let alone a luxury car. For long-distance intercontinental flights, larger fuel tank aircraft need a lot of gasoline. The Bombardier Global 8000 has a fuel capacity of around 50,000 pounds, as an illustration of expense. The typical cost to fill up the tank is $53,000. Imagine having to spend up to $50,000 approximately for every flight around the globe. Alternatively, you can choose to rent a private jet, which, while more expensive than taking a regular commercial flight, is still less expensive than purchasing your own aircraft. Nonetheless, you want to confirm that this investment will be sufficient. Private jet trips are priced per hour. Costs vary depending on the size of the jet, length of the journey, and the number of people on board. A private jet charter typically costs between $1,674 and $8,640 per hour. If all the passengers fulfill the necessary standards, renting a plane for the full weekend can cost $100,000 or more when divided by the number of passengers aiding to each flight. So when is hiring a private plane a good idea? Renting, which sits in the center of buying and commercial flying, is definitely preferable to buying one entirely unless you fly at least 150 hours each year. Let's talk about how to purchase a private jet. You can always acquire a personal loan to buy the plane if you want to. In all honesty, most people have the means to pay for a private jet outright, let alone the cost of upkeep. You can get a personal loan from a bank or credit union to pay for the jet upfront and repay the loan over time, as you may be aware. Even yet, being authorized for a personal loan for a private plane is significantly more challenging than getting one for anything else, even a vehicle or a house. As even the most affordable private aircraft costs several $1,000,000, hardly everyone can afford one. You must be in possession of nearly flawless credit, be able to cover the down payment, the plane's purchase price, and all related expenses. You might also consider a secured personal loan, which would require a down payment of a pricey asset like your home. This lender would have the right to lawfully confiscate your assets if you were unable to repay the loan, and don't try to get one of them on a loan unless you are in a positive way that you can pay everything off. Otherwise, you risk having a private aircraft parked in your backyard without even having a roof over your head where you can sleep soundly at night. You can speak with some credit unions or associations created for these types of loans if you are interested in obtaining a loan for a private jet. Jet Loan Capital, Jet Lease Capital, and Global Jet Capital are a few lenders that specialize in loans for private jet finance. To assist you in estimating your monthly payments, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association also provide an online loan finance calculator. The advantages of owning a private jet can also be obtained by leasing one as an alternative to outright purchase. With the ability to sign a lease for a number of months to a number of years, leasing a private jet operates very similarly to leasing a new automobile. Lessors don't have to worry about depreciation or selling the plane if they decide to buy a new one because they don't legally own the plane, which makes leasing a private jet a perfect method to test out different aircraft before making the complete investment in buying one. The final alternative is to purchase a charter flight membership and join a private jet club. In these clubs, you purchase a plane seat rather than renting one. Of course, this is a substantial sum of money. Wheels Up is a prime instance of this, a private jet club business where memberships cost between $3,000 and $30,000 and members pay for access to their shared jets. Despite the fact that club owners offer many benefits such as family discounts or visitor passes, as well as the privacy of knowing your fellow passengers, they are similar to resorts in many ways. What do you think of these expenses then? Would you like to purchase a private aircraft, or would you prefer to charter one instead? It all depends on how many flight hours you log annually.